From the country's county capital of Nairobi, good evening. Glad that you are watching us on TV47, the county's television. On the news tonight. More days of curfew. The dusk to dawn curfew will go for another 30 days. President Uhuru Kenyatta announces this even as the number of COVID-19 cases continue to drop. The good news, however, is that some regulations have been relaxed, including the ban on mitumba and sale of alcohol in licensed restaurants. The time is now. Also tonight, President Uhuru Kenyatta has said the time to amend the Constitution is now. Remarks come on the eve of the 10th anniversary of the Constitution. This is the boldest indicator that a referendum now is a matter of when and not if. Obado children arrested. Plus, Migori Governor Okoth Obado in another rough bush with the law. This time the besieged governor and his 4 children are under arrest over alleged plunder of 73.4 million shillings. The Obados have been brought to Nairobi waiting to be arraigned in court tomorrow. The developing story here tonight. Death in the quarry. And 3 people have died in a quarry accident in Kiambu County and 4 others sustained injuries. A quarry wall collapsed, burying a group of people who are loading building stones onto a lorry. The details on this newscast tonight. Good evening. Tonight of all nights, TV47 News Tonight with me, Abubakar Abdullahi, begins right now. Faith Cheptile is our sign language interpreter to our top story. President Uhuru Kenyatta has today extended the dusk to dawn curfew for another 30 days. Operational hours for restaurants and eateries have been extended by 1 hour from 7 p.m. previously to 8 p.m. as bars and pubs remain closed. Zainab Mohammed begins our broadcast tonight.
In his 11th COVID-19 address to the nation, President Uhuru Kenyatta extended the dusk to dawn curfew for another 30 days in a bid to contain the COVID-19 pandemic.
That the nationwide curfew that is currently enforced between the hours of 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. daily be and is hereby extended by a further 30 days.
Operation hours for restaurants and eateries have been extended by 1 hour as restaurants licensed to sell alcoholic drinks now allowed to do so during their operational hours.
That the closing time for restaurants and eateries be and is hereby varied by 1 hour from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. effective the 27th of August, 2020.
The closure of bars and nightclubs will continue for another 30 days as the head of state directed the Ministry of Health in conjunction with Bar Owners Association in coming up with protocols on their reopening.
I have also directed that the Ministry of Health, in conjunction with all bar owners, will develop self-regulating mechanisms as part of their civic responsibility to their clientele in order to allow their resumption.
The President also announced a review of the maximum number of persons permitted to attend weddings and funerals. 100 people will now be allowed to attend those social gatherings, up the 15 people allowed previously.
In accordance with the recommendations of the Interfaith Council, the maximum numbers of persons permitted to attend funerals and weddings is reviewed upwards from 15 to 100, with all in attendance abiding with the Ministry of Health protocols.
The importation and sale of second-hand clothes has also been reinstated.
That the ban on the sale of second-hand clothing, otherwise known in Kenya as mitumba, is herewith lifted.
President Kenyatta has further ordered for the gradual resumption of sporting events as an inclusive national consultative conference is expected to convene in 3 weeks to review the country's COVID-19 response. Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Now, the Kenyan economy grew by 4.6% amidst COVID-19 compared to 5.5% last year. President Uhuru Kenyatta says the inflation rate this year is lower at 4.4% compared to 6.3% last year. Andrin Kilemi makes sense of the numbers.
All set? All set. Your Grace? Yes. Chairman.
In his 11th address to the nation since the novel coronavirus was reported in the country, President Uhuru Kenyatta said the current economic indicators, despite being lower, have defied expectations.
When we look at our inflation numbers, they are lower today, standing at 4.4% compared to 6.3% during the same period last year. The current economic indicators, without doubt, are lower, but definitely far better than we ever anticipated.
Compared to the 5.5% last year, the Kenyan economy has grown by 4.6% amidst the coronavirus pandemic. The inflation stands at 4.4% compared to 6.3% during the same period last year. The head of state further affirmed efforts by Kenyans, especially those that have used the COVID-19 crisis, to reimagine their conditions. The banking sector, for instance, has begun to retool and humanize its model. Instead of focusing on profit, it has re-engineered its model to focus on the customer.
Institutions, for example, the Kenya Revenue Authority, have also remodeled their approach. As an example also, instead of destroying 1.5 million liters of illicit ethanol that was in their custody, working together with other government agencies like Kenya Pipeline and many others, they converted that illicit ethanol into hand sanitizers that were distributed freely throughout the length and breadth of our country.
President Kenyatta says the COVID-19 crisis represents both danger and an opportunity to Kenyans. Andrin Kilemi, TV47.
Elsewhere, it is not a matter of if a referendum will take place or not, but when it will happen, with President Uhuru Kenyatta announcing that the time to change the constitution is now. President Kenyatta said that the country needs a better document that conforms to future changes. Mwangi Maina now reports.
The pronouncement by President Uhuru Kenyatta couldn't have come a better time than Wednesday, the eve of the 10th anniversary of the Constitution of Kenya of 2010.
We were made to adopt it with a promise that in the future we will make it better. 10 years later, the moment to improve on it, I believe, is now.
The president saying that 2010 constitution is a work in progress, and as such, it must be aligned to the needs of Kenyans as they arise. President Uhuru Kenyatta alluding to changes on matters elections.
The moment calls us to create a constitutional order that will long endure and survive and not be a conflict-stopping constitution, but rather a future-building document.
Uhuru calling on politicians and Kenyans not to be rigid on the polarities of the constitution, but embrace the changes for the common good of everybody. President Kenyatta says the constitution has been in conflict with the past, and this needs to be rectified for the sake of the posterity.
We must treat a constitution as a living being, as a living document that must constantly adjust to our emerging realities.
It is now evident that the country might go for a referendum before the 2022 polls. There has been constant calls for a referendum behind the shadows of the Building Bridges initiative. As President Uhuru Kenyatta speaks of a future, it is not evident who will benefit from the constitutional review between politicians and the Kenyan citizenry. Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
Moving on, Masai Mara University Vice Chancellor Mary Walingo and 4 others have been released on a 20 million shillings bond, each after denying corruption and abuse of office charges. They appeared before Chief Magistrate Elizabeth Usui, where they denied multiple corruption charges, among them abuse of office amounting to the loss of 177 million shillings at the institution.
Ready for the plea?
Masai Mara University Vice Chancellor Mary Walingo was charged alongside Simon Kasain and John Almadi, Anklet Biket and Nur Hassan. They are accused of conspiring to obtain the funds on diverse dates between January 2016 and July 2019, where Walingo is said to have directed the unlawful expenditure of the funds without following due process.
Mary Akoni Walingo, Simon Kasaine Oreseno, John Almadi Obere, Anakret Biket Okumu, Nuh Hassani Abdi, between 24 January 2016 and 19 July 2019 at Masai Mara University in Narok County, within Narok County, in the Republic of Kenya, being the Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellors, Finance Officer and Driver, conspired to commit an offense of corruption, namely misappropriation of public funds amounting to Kenya shillings 177 million.
Additionally, the 5 were charged with stealing by persons employed in the public service, where they are accused of stealing 177 million shillings by virtue of being employed at the institution, contrary to the law. Walingo was further accused of willful failure to comply with law relating to management of public funds by authorizing expenditure of 70 million shillings without supporting documents as required by law, leading to loss of funds. All the 5 were freed on a 20 million shillings bond, each without further terms.
Each accused person shall be released on bond of 20 million shillings with one surety of like amount or cash bail of 10 million shillings. Bond of 20 million with one surety of like amount or cash bail of 10 million.
The proceedings took place virtually, with the accused persons at Central Police Station in Nakuru and the Chief Magistrate at Nakuru Law Courts, in keeping with COVID-19 measures. The matter will be mentioned on September 11th.
Now, Migori Governor Okoth Obado today presented himself together with his 3 children to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC offices in Kisii. The governor is accused of embezzlement of 73.4 million shillings in Migori County. This comes just a day after the Directorate of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji, DPP, gave a go-ahead to the arrest and prosecution of the county boss alongside others. DPP is accusing the county boss of receiving a total sum of more than 73 million shillings indirectly through his children from the companies trading with the Migori County government between the financial years 2013-2014. You're watching TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakar Abdullahi. 14 minutes past 9 p.m. Time for us to take a short break. We still have a lot lined up for you. We'll be back with much news after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakar Abdullahi. Thank you for choosing to stay with us. Remember, as always, you can be part of this broadcast. Send us a message on 22047. The hashtag to use is TV47 News. Quite a number of your feedback already coming in. Let me go through some. Anderson Mugendi on Facebook says he's watching TV47 live from Meru County. Sinkli Odongo says he's watching from Kisumu. As always, you can be part of this broadcast. Tell us where you're watching from. Your voice matters and it counts. Let's get to more news now. And President Uhuru Kenyatta has ordered a probe into the graft at the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, KEMSA, to be completed within 21 days. The President ordered the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to hasten the probe. Our Parliamentary Affairs reporter Elizabeth Mutuku has the details.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has ordered the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations (DCI) to complete investigations into the matter within 21 days.
Following the allegations of impropriety at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, better known as KEMSA, the relevant investigative agencies of our country are currently fully seized with the matter. However, given the compelling public interest on the matter, the relevant agencies should expedite their ongoing investigations and conclude the same within 21 days from the date hereof. Fellow Kenyans, in line with my stated public policy on zero tolerance to corruption, I want to once again reiterate that all persons found to be prima facie culpable as a result of those ongoing investigations should be brought to book.
His statement coming amidst claims of misappropriation of funds at the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency KEMSA. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukuru Yatani says no one will be spared if linked to the graft.
Of course, there could be doubts on what might have gone to KEMSA, but I leave it to the relevant agencies which already have started the process of investigation. Hopefully something will come out of it, and if there is any individual or group of people who have diverted resources meant for a calamity like this, they should not be spared, because they have no business being part of this noble society called Kenya. Taking advantage of a situation like this is not the desirable thing to do.
Members of Parliament are, however, questioning the funds meant for COVID-19 in the country. Budget Committee Chairman and Kieni Member of Parliament Kanin Kega claiming that some MPs have received the money meant to cushion Kenyans.
Occasion of even a question or a request, we should actually know how much money has already been spent and whether that money is what you call value for money.
KEMSA bosses have already been suspended in the ongoing investigations. Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47 Nairobi.
Moving on, a new formula for sharing revenue among counties could be in place after the 12-member bipartisan Senate committee formed to broker a deal on the contentious formula announced a breakthrough. The 12-member committee and team made the announcement after 8 days of intense negotiations on the third basis of revenue sharing among the counties. The committee, however, reiterated that the standoff that has persisted in the Senate over the formula has not affected operations in the counties after Treasury agreed to release up to 50% of the total allocations to the counties.
Tomorrow, the committee will be presenting its findings and outcome in a report form to the leadership of the House, led by the Speaker and the House leadership. We will not, and we are not allowed by standing orders of the House, to divulge the content of the report until it is presented to the Speaker and find its way to the House. But we want to assure Kenyans that the impasse that has been in the media and on everybody's lips is going to be something that will be resolved. Equally important, we have seen a circular from the Treasury that is very clear that counties are accessing 50% of their last year's allocation. So any stories from counties that are truncated and incapacitated and made difficult to work because the Senate has not passed the formula is not true. They are accessing money from the Treasury, and the Supreme Court ruled as such.
Now, Deputy President William Ruto has downplayed political meetings held at Kotu boss Francis Atwoli's Kajiado home. Ruto says the meetings will not challenge his 2022 presidential ambitions, terming them as a waste of time. At least 5 political meetings have been held at Atwoli's home in the last 2 months, with talks of a coalition that will front a presidential candidate in 2022.
Ati siku hizi mko na wageni wengi sana kule Kajiado, kwa manyumba ya watu wengine huko. Msijali na hawa wanahangaika huko kwenu. Hiyo safari yote ni watu wanahangaika kwa sababu wamekosa mtu ya kushindana na mimi. Mahangaiko yote hiyo mnasikia huko Kajiado, mara wanaweka kwa gazeti wameungana sijui watu karibu 30. Na bado wanaona hii mlolongo ya watu 30 haijatosha. Bado wanatafuta wengine wa kuunganisha. Juzi waliniambia ati wako na kitu inaitwa system, na wako na ingine inaitwa deep state. Mimi nikamwambia sawa, na mimi niko na wananchi na Mungu. Tukutane. Tukutane. Ama namna gani? Si namna hiyo? Namna hiyo. The line is drawn.
Moving on, at least 3 people have died after a quarry collapsed in Mudhara area, Juja in Kiambu County. 4 others are nursing serious injuries following the afternoon incident. 2 of the quarry workers died on the spot, while the third one died while receiving treatment. Quarry workers are now calling on their employers to pay for their health insurance, with several such incidents being reported in the area.
Mimi mwenye hii lori yenye imeangukiwa na mchanga kutoka huko juu kwa kware. Driver walikuwa na beba mawe, na kulikuwa tani makaga wawili walikuwa wanapanga mawe kwa ndani. Wenye wamekufa ni driver na makaga wawili. Wengine waina wamepelekwa hospitali.
To David Ekidor, huwa nafanya kazi kwa kware, lakini tangu nilikuja huku niliona huku mambo kama insurance hakuna, karatasi kama NSSF ambayo ukiumia inaweza kusaidia hakuna. Sasa tunaona kama hii mambo imetokea hapa hivi, wenye walikuwa wanafanya kazi hapa hivi watabidi wajitegemea wenyewe kwenyewe.
You're watching TV47 News tonight with me, Abu Bakar Abdullahi. Keep talking to us. Be part of this broadcast. Send us a message on 22047. The hashtag to use on Twitter is TV47 News. We still have a lot lined up for you. We'll be back after this break. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakar Abdullahi. Let's continue updating you and get to more news. And health services in Nairobi County are set to resume Thursday after doctors' unions, Nairobi County government, and Nairobi Metropolitan Services agreed to settle demands that triggered a doctor strike that kicked off 6 days ago. Eli Logova now reports.
We have called off the strike now. We shall resume work immediately. And we shall offer Nairobian services as we have been offering them before.
After numerous meetings between doctors' unions, Nairobi Metropolitan Services, and Nairobi County government on how to end the doctor strike that had altered medical services in the city for the past 6 days, the three parties finally agreed on a return to work formula. Part of the deal being increment of salaries and promotion of doctors that will see more than 170 doctors promoted.
We've had doctors who have stagnated in one job group for over 16 years, 18 years, 12 years. Today, I'm happy to announce that all our doctors have been promoted and redesignated to their rightful job group. All. The other issue we had were issues of, we had 5 consultants who had not been paid for at least 26 months. Again, I'm happy to announce here today that Nairobi Metropolitan Services has undertaken to reinstate these officers and pay them their salaries in full, starting the month of September.
The doctors have, however, urged the Nairobi Metropolitan Services and the county government to ensure they stick to the terms of the agreements and implement them effectively, failure to which they might resort to another industrial action.
Standing up for the right and saying enough is enough. And I think this will be a lesson, not only to Nairobi doctors, but all doctors at large. Because, as we're sitting here, let me tell you, in so many other counties, they're facing the same problems. Problems with promotions, problems with the designations, problem of late payments and everything. So, this will be a lesson to each and every doctor out there that they need to stand for their right and demand for it.
The doctors in Nairobi public health facilities will resume duties full on Thursday. Eli Logova, TV47.
Elsewhere, traders in Githurai 45 market are startled and do not know what to do after the Kenya Railways Company descended on their businesses stalls, demolishing all the structures that were adjacent to the railways overnight. The traders decry that they were given a 2-day notice by word of mouth.
These are some of the remains the traders were able to retrieve after Kenya Railways ordered the demolition of business structures in Githurai Market. More than 2,000 traders are counting losses running into millions of shillings after their stalls were demolished this morning.
Kama leo hakuna biashara na hatujui itarudi siku gani. Na ujue sisi wana biashara, sisi ni watu wale wadogo, tunafanya kazi ya hand to mouth. Kwa hivyo sasa hata leo hakuna mahali watu watakula chakula. Watakuwa na shida sana. Kuanzia leo mimi hata nimepigwa simu mingi sana na watu wangu na wanataka kujua watakula nini na wataishi namna gani. Sababu
For Francis Kamau, this is a double tragedy. Kamau says he lost his job due to COVID-19 early in March and used all his saving to start a business. But waking up Wednesday morning, he could not account for anything.
Kwanza ningesema wametukosea sana kwangu sasa hasa mimi juu nilikuwa natafanya kazi huko town na juu ya hii mambo ya corona kazi kaisha. Au pesa yenye mtu alikuwa amesave ndio yeye amekuja ameweka mzigo hapa. Kuweka hapa loli ndio hiyo tingatinga ndio inakuja inalalia hapa hivi, kila kitu yangu imepotea. Sasa nashangaa nyumba za wenyewe hii ni mwisho wa mwezi nitafanya nini, mtu analipa na nini nyumba?
Leaders across the divide have condemned the incident, saying it is inhumane that during the COVID-19 pandemic, when people have lost livelihoods, such a deliberate destruction can happen. They say there was no order and they were not notified to move willingly.
Wameadhiriwa na hiyo hali ya mambo ya kubomolewa kwa hizo soko zao ama hizo vibanda zao na biashara zao. Na tumejaribu kuona vile ambavyo tunaweza tafuta njia za kuleta watu wote pamoja, tulete management ya railway tulete serikali yetu ya county na pia tulete serikali kuu ili tujue vile ambavyo tutaweza kuwasaidia watu ambao wanaumia. Kwa saa hii familia 2000 hawatapata mkate wa kila siku hii ya leo.
Watu wa Kenya Railways wamekuja, wamedemolish, wameharibu vibanda za traders wetu hapa beside the railway line. Na kitu ya kushangaza na kitu inahuzunisha sana ni kuwa walipokuja kupeana hiyo habari, nasikia walikuja tu, ilifanywa verbally without any notice, without hata informing the area leaders, the leaders of the traders, the chairman, secretary. Kuna ofisi yote waliingia. It's very unfortunate kuona hati siku kama ya leo Kenya yetu mali tumefika bado tunafanya vitu ambazo hazifai.
The actual amount of money the traders have lost is yet to be ascertained. Kenya Railway is on a mission to reclaiming its land reserves for construction of Nairobi's mass transit line.
Now from Githurai to Garissa, where immediate former National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale's mother, who passed away yesterday at a Nairobi hospital while undergoing treatment, was today laid to rest. The brief Islamic ritual and burial was attended by hundreds of area residents and led by Garissa Governor Ali Korane and Northeastern Regional Commissioner Nicodemus Ndalana. Duale's mother, aged 90, passed away last evening at the Nairobi hospital after being flown on Sunday for treatment. May her soul rest in eternal peace. Elsewhere, the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, KEPROBA, in collaboration with the Tea Directorate and the University of Nairobi School of Art and Design, has rolled out a new program known as Tea Enterprises Product Development and Branding Program, aimed at boosting tea exports potential in the country. Our reporter Calvin Chitwa has the details.
Speaking during a visit to Mbogo Valley Tea Factory in Nandi County, KEPROBA CEO Wilfred Marube said that the agency is on a mission to engage tea sector players to create synergies and forge a working partnership in a bid to position and increase Kenya tea exports across the globe.
Helping them develop the product so that it meets both local and export market requirements, so that these products are able to be packaged well in terms of branding, so that they are appealing, so that they're also able to articulate and show that this is a product coming from Kenya.
Marube noted that market diversification will ensure exporters do not over-rely on traditional export markets only. The planned activities include instructive training, validation workshops, and on-site coaching on tea export branding of 10 enterprises across Kericho, Nandi, Nyamira, and Bomet counties.
And access to international markets could start from the first position is in terms of information. What are the international market requirements if you are to sell tea directly, so that it's able to get into the distributorship, into the retail system? Because that is the best way forward to go.
The agency is engaging key players for several interventions, including subsidized cost of energy and general business environment, harmonization of the local restrictions, including levies and cess, to be payable once at a single point of departure.
For a very long time, farmers have not maximized in terms of tea being manufactured, all of it. You'll find out that years past, we have had a lot of green leaf being thrown away.
The agency is further targeting to improve infrastructure, including adoption of modern technology to improve productivity, as well as improve the channels of transport for easy and efficient delivery. Calvin Chitwa, TV47, Nandi County.
Keep talking to us. The SMS line is 22047. The hashtag to use is TV47 News. your texts, quite a number of them. Let me go through some. Ngugi, who has specified his profession as a mechanic, says, watching TV47 from Ruai, he says, Kenyans are tired of this corruption. How can thieves be creating a committee they have looted? He says, may God help Kenya. That is Ngugi, who is watching from Ruai. Keep talking to us, send us a message. The hashtag to use is TV47NEWS. We are taking another short break. When we come back, we'll get sporty and get to sports. Stay tuned. charge last season, keeping 8 clean sheets in the process as the 2016 Kenyan Premier League champions lost out to Gor Mahia after the season ended prematurely. Elsewhere, Peruvian TV47 News Tonight with me, Abu Bakar Abdullahi, on behalf of the entire team that made this production possible tonight of all nights. Good night, enjoy the rest of our programs.